Hey Flosstube, it's Kim back again with another cross-stitching update. Today is the 10th of February 2020. This is Flosstube number 55, and let's talk about some cross-stitch that I did this week. I only worked on 3 pieces, and most of it was all on one. So I showed you my finished familiar from Ingleside Imaginarium, which catalog of Witches Familiar sale. But then after the video on Monday, that evening, I went ahead and I finished up the frames for the next 2 months. That went really quickly. So I'm loving this. I love the concept. I love that it does go quick. The borders. So great design. Can't recommend it enough. So I'm ready for the next 2 months on that one. So next time I'll pick this one up will be March, once the next familiar is released. And then the other quick piece that I worked on was the Peppermint Purple 52 Weeks of Blackwork sale, where I had weeks 5 and 6 to catch up on. So that's what I did. And I only did a little bit more of the border, I think. Not much. So, an orangey yellow for week 5, and then the green again for week 6. Let me see if I can get closer and make it focus. There you go. You can see the orange one better in person than I can show you right here. I just got too much light coming in the window. It's currently snowing outside, so, which is good because, again, I can see the grass. It's February, and I shouldn't see the grass here in North Dakota in February. So, those were those 2 pieces. And then the entire rest of the week, the only thing I worked on was Friends Forever by Ann Stokes. Let me get you the cover page. This piece I'm working on for Around the World, going to Brazil with Carnival. She's sitting on a throne. And also, of course, using it, double dipping for the national parks. And this, coincidentally, is my Death Valley park. And I got a page finish on this confetti of the throne right here. So I worked a lot on this one. Where is it? Doing anywhere, like averaging about 710 stitches a day. Just chomping away at that confetti. I got the page finish. And then, as I explained in my goals, in my whip parade, whip parade, my goals on this one, I'm going to a diagonal page. So I didn't just automatically move over to the little elf queen's face. I went back down to the 3rd row, and I can show you the vast difference between the page I just finished and what I'm working on now. So I took off 2 sides of the Q-snap so you can see the whole piece so far. There it is. Make sure you focus. This is on 25 count Lugana. 2/1 cottonelle 10 stitch, the same way I do most of my full coverage pieces. And so you can see my page finish there on the side of the throne, and where I'm starting the next row of pages to work on this piece diagonally, because I need a break from the confetti. Now let me do this, and I'm bringing it up closer to the confetti page. So this part of the page, not bad. But it was once we got in here, there's so many colors to make that up. And, you know, doesn't look that great up close as far as the detail of the picture. But once you come back here, oh, that looks so cool. Hold it up again. Okay, so on the next page, you see a lot of black. That's where I'm working right now. The partial page is only 12 stitches wide. Sorry, bumping the camera. And thanks to Pattern Keeper, I can show you what I'm working on without showing you the pattern. So I've highlighted all the 310. And look at that. So this page, when I finished it, was like 4,310 stitches. And of course I need 8,010 stitches for the national parks. So coming down to this page and the little partial right there, like half the stitches that I need to do for this page are black. So I'm doing all the black first. I did all this partial last night. So there's only like 1 or 2 stitches to get the partial page finished all the way down. And I started here, and I'm at 5,800 stitches so far for the national parks. So what's that, 2,200 more that I need? And just rough guessing, you know, counting the blocks, it's going to be close, but I might just be able to finish the black and have my Death Valley done. So Death Valley was all confetti, and now the rest of it, the other half, is huge blocks of color. So you can see how much black is on this side compared to, there's not nearly as much on the other side. Just the way the light hits the artwork. So you can see where she is sitting on her throne. She's going to be right there. And then that's part of her dress. So that's what I'm working on. 2,200, I figured maybe today and tomorrow. And then I can work on a different piece. I'm certainly going to need a break. So I'll keep working on that to finish Death Valley this week. Other pieces that I'm going to work on this week, let's see. Thinking about bringing out Big Red Ship for its monthly rotation. This upcoming weekend is the Love Is All You Need weekend in Full Coverage Fanatics. And for that, I'll be working on Museum Shelf, because I just love that piece. And the other thing I'm going to be starting soon, my friend that I stitched up the Shakespeare quote, though she be but little, she is fierce, for her daughter that was born in October. So I've stitched up something for both her daughters, and a friend of hers has seen those and really likes them, and is now pregnant with her own child. So my friend contacted me and said, could I pay you to stitch something up for her? And I said, as long as she's going to appreciate it, absolutely. So the nursery theme is safari, and I have the babies, of course we're going to double check, but the baby's first and middle name is already been chosen. So I looked through my stash, and I have this great pattern by Trilogy zoo lineup, and if you look at it, almost all the animals there are African. The only ones that aren't, the panda, obviously. There are penguins, but only down in South Africa, and this black swan. So what I plan on doing is stitching up this piece. It's only 88 by 88. And I will replace these 3 with other African animals that I'll chart. I'll figure out a way. So we've got a rhino, a lion, a hippo, giraffe, some elephants, zebra, crocodiles, like the Nile crocodiles. And I've got tons of animals I could choose from here. Leopards, hyenas, wild dogs. There are some monkeys and things in, let's see. I don't know. I already Googled it. There's a whole different, lots of possibilities I could stitch up there. And then instead of zoo animals, I can either put, you know, Let's Safari or Safari Fun or the baby's first and middle name. I'll do that part last, obviously, once we figure out what we want to do. She kind of wants this to be a surprise. So it's me and my friend trying to figure out what the best thing would be. So that will be a new start soon. And I plan on using, this is the piece of linen that came with the Lizzie Kate band sampler piece that my neighbor took. It's 28 count cashel. I don't know what color it is, but you know, it's just a light tan. And I think it'll work nicely with the animals, and it's the right size. So it's not going to stay up. That'll be a new start pretty soon. So that's in my plans. My other neighbor that is working on the stocking for her daughter for the past 4 years, I asked her if she was, had been stitching, and she hadn't started the little Lizzie Kate Love piece that I gave her, but she has been working on the stocking. She's at that repetitive, like a checkerboard section at the top, and she said the loop start is amazing. Like, it makes all the difference in the world not to have to flip your work over at the start of each thread. So, and she's been working on it, like watching TV, and I said, that's excellent. That's what, the repetitive stuff, it's best when you have a distraction like that. So she's working on that. My other neighbor that wants to learn how to stitch, I didn't ask her recently, but she is out of town for the week with her family. I'm actually feeding their cats. So I will ask her when she gets back if she's had a chance to start that Lizzie Kate band sampler, and see how she's going, if she has any questions on that one. Let's see. I did go to the chiropractor. I'm currently almost no pain. It was a pretty long appointment. It's long when the doctor spends like 45 minutes with you, just doing a thorough exam and talking about what you do and trying to pinpoint where the issue is. She does think it's in relation to what I spend most of my day doing, and there's a lot of looking down, whether it's at your phone, at a book, stitching, obviously, household chores like washing dishes, even caring for the children, you're looking down a lot. And the vertebrae in your neck, and then the first 4 or 5 in your upper back, they all kind of move together. And it's not a sudden injury. It builds up over time. And then eventually your back just has it, and your muscles tense up and end up pinching nerves, which is what she thinks my problem was. So her recommendation, of course, she adjusted me, but because she was going out of town the second half of last week and she couldn't get a second adjustment in 1 week for me, she told me to keep icing it and doing some stretches that she showed me. And if I had to, take some anti-inflammatories. And then I have another appointment tomorrow, and probably I'll have another at the end of this week, just because adjustments don't stay unless the muscles relax too. The muscles can easily, and they did, within 24 hours, my adjustment last week was negated because my muscles were so tight and I hadn't been able to loosen them up yet. So the stretches, like every hour or 2 hours, you just need to stretch back. I can actually hear my neck popping, and push back to stretch your neck backwards, because your neck has a curve like this, where you're looking forward, and constantly looking down negates that curve. So you need to come back and stretch it backwards like this. She put her arm, she does this herself because she's constantly looking down at patients, puts her arms back here and kind of provides some traction to stretch that way. The other thing you can do, if you're not prone to getting nauseous being upside down, is to actually lay down on your back on a bed and scoot yourself so that your head and, first inch or so of your shoulders are off the edge of the bed, and let your neck hang down over the bed, and then even push down slightly on your chin to force that stretch even more. Again, you only do this if it's not going to make you sick, which it doesn't for me. It actually feels really good in like a, yes, it's like any good stretch. You can feel the pull, but it's a good, bit of discomfort. So I do that a couple times a day as well. And so as of this weekend, I wake up tight a little bit, but then once I do some stretches, I'm okay. So hopefully with a couple more adjustments, I'll be fine. Okay, so just some sharing that with you because obviously we all spend hours on end stitching, and you should all do some stretches backwards to ease those muscles in your neck and upper back. All right. That is all my stitching news. The rest is Air Force story of the week. So if you're not interested in that, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching my videos and sharing your time with me. Okay, Air Force story of the week takes us back to the beginning of June 2004. My husband had recently graduated and commissioned at Michigan State in May. And after you do that, you have a month, 30 days from your commissioning date before you need to report to your first base. Now, when I commissioned, that 30 days was really busy because 2 weeks later we got married. We went on our short little honeymoon, what we could afford for, poor college students. And then I reported down to Seymour Johnson. So 2004, I had been there a year, and it was time for my husband to commission, and he came down with Hopper. That's when Hopper joined our family. Came down to North Carolina from Michigan, and this is when President Reagan passed away. And presidential funerals are really big deals. For every president that has passed, we've only had 3 that have passed since I commissioned, there has always been a flyover of some sort. And for those 3, 2 of them have been done by Seymour Johnson, F-15Es, Strike Eagles. So, and these are things that are planned out way in advance. That, they pre-plan what's going to happen for each president's funeral. Not to be morbid, but to be prepared, because you got to have plans and, everything ready to go, because obviously you never know when it's going to happen. So for President Reagan, we knew that we were going to be tasked with that flyover, and the way the chain of events, I guess you should say, is that he laid in state at his presidential library in California for a certain number of days, and then flew on Air Force One, which of course had a different call sign because he wasn't active president. Flew to Andrews Air Force Base near DC, and then he traveled by car around Maryland and Virginia to the Ellipse, which is right in front of the White House. Then casket was loaded onto a horse-drawn caisson to proceed down Constitution Avenue. And that is where the 21 ship, I don't know why we call them ships, they're airplanes, but 21 ship flyover occurred. Now, to get 21 F-15Es up there to Washington, D.C. from North Carolina to do, number 21, because 21 gun salute, it's the number specific. Obviously, you're starting with more than 21 to make sure that last thing you want to do is to run shy of airplanes. So when we do a 21 ship flyover, that means we have air crews stepping to and starting up 40 airplanes. So 40 airplanes, engine start on the ramp at the same time. 30 of those 40 actually take off, because you're bound to have airplanes breaking for one reason or another. So you have 30 take off with the KC-135s from the reserve unit at the same, at Seymour. So they're flying with them so that they can, refuel when they need to do the 21 ship flyover. Now, for a 21 ship, you have 5 waves of 4 ships, and then 1 single jet leading it. So 1 single jet, and then 5 waves of 4, and the last group of 4 does the missing man formation. And we had special nose art that was put on a couple of the airplanes because, again, you want the aircraft doing the missing man to have the nose art, but you need to put the nose art on a few different jets just in case one of those jets breaks and doesn't make it. So here's the nose art for President Reagan. One more for the Gipper. So that was on a few different jets. Of course, those jets were flown by like the ops group commander, the wing commander, the higher ups, because of course they want the honor of doing the missing man formation. And the interesting thing about this flyover is we broke the rules to do it. Because in aircraft maintenance, you think of this giant ramp with 4 squadrons worth of airplanes, no trees. So when you have inclement weather, maintenance is called off the flight line. Nothing happens. And that inclement weather is when lightning is within 5 nautical miles of the base. This is no matter what base you're at, what kind of airplane. If there's lightning within 5, they have a giant voice speaker system where the command post and the Mach will call it over the radios. Lightning within 5, everyone has to clear the flight line because big giant area filled with metal objects. It's too much of a risk for personnel to be out there when lightning can and does strike all the time, being attracted to the airplanes. Well, the weather was beautiful in Washington, D.C. on this day. The weather was not beautiful at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base in North Carolina. Of course, with 40 airplanes starting up on the flight line, we had the maintenance group commander, the colonel, is like, everybody is going on a flight line. We need all the supervision we can. So even though I don't think I was assigned to AMXS at the time, I was out there, and line badge, ear protection. And this is what it looked like. Downpour. Lightning was within 5, but literally the group commander, the maintenance group commander, the colonel, called up the Mach on his cell phone. He's driving around one of these pickup trucks like this around the flight line. Calls up the maintenance operations center, who is tracking like all these engine starts and if there's any problems for every single of those 40 jets. Calls them up and says, do not call lightning within 5. Because this is something we couldn't not do. So we were on the flight line endangering everybody that was out there, maintainers and air crew. And we still launched those airplanes when it was very bad weather. So what would happen is that, that airplanes would start up and they do all their pre-flight checks. And they were waiting for quite a while for the go to actually taxi out and which tails would actually be going. And so inclement weather, and we're waiting longer than normal for them to leave. So you see, this is a crew chief right here standing out front. He's ready to marshal the airplane to tell it to take off and to start taxiing, and he has to maintain visual contact with the aircrew that actually took this picture. So he's stuck out in the weather. He can't do anything about it. But obviously there's more jets that weren't actually going. So officers and the higher enlisted people that weren't actually, that they were all the supervision, we would go hide under the wing of the jet next door. Even if that jet was running, we know how, stay out of the danger areas, and we were trying to stay as dry as we could, even though it was almost impossible. Anyways, so we broke lightning within 5, but we made the flyover happen. And here is a picture just as the missing man formation is starting. So this is flying over the Potomac. So as the casket on the caisson was processing down Constitution Avenue from the White House to the Capitol, that's when the flyover happened. And then once they got to the Capitol was the service. This is important for next week's story for the other presidential funeral flyover that we did. So flying over the Potomac, you see there, Washington, D.C. So here's the jet that's starting to pull up to do the missing man formation. You see another jet right there. So that's how you know he's starting to pull up. He's no longer flying level. He's just about to do... So in the missing man formation, you have 4 jets, just like you see geese flying. That's how they're situated. And then one pulls up and goes straight up, and the others keep going to represent the missing man. So one of the very coolest things that I'm proud to have participated in the 7.5 years that I was active duty. So that was President Reagan's flyover. And next week we'll talk about President Ford's flyover, which wasn't eventful at the beginning, it was eventful at the end. And you'll have to tune in next week if you want to hear why. So that's all I have for you. I hope everyone has a good stitching week, and I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.